audio and camera's messed up.
You know, it was recording before you got here, and I said, "Oh gosh, I should shut it off." And then whenever I do that, I forget. Thank you. Yeah, try to remind me each time. The good news is we haven't gotten any of the lessons, so we haven't missed anything. Then the other thing is Canvas. We need to go over that for the new people, and we'll do that right now. And in the process, the syllabus for the class is on the Canvas. So we'll when we get to the syllabus, we'll look at that too. Okay, so I'll share that, okay, on the screen. Is that okay with everybody? Let me ask you a question about that. You know, I sent out a bunch of handouts, right? The first ones were the syllabus, which we're going to go over, so we don't need to look at that anymore. And then the next ones were handouts, the set 1, 2, and 3. So would you like me to put the handouts on the screen when we go over them? Is that the easiest thing for you guys? Well, answer me this. When you get the handouts in the mail, do you print them? Do you download them? You download them on your desktop, say?
I do. Yeah, I print.
For some of you print them? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know not everybody has a printer or maybe can afford to print them, but it's really convenient that way. Then when you go to study for the midterm, you got them all there. Okay, but you can look at them at the thing, but to avoid having to do a split screen or something, I'll put them on the share screen when we go over them, okay? Now, how's that going to work for Katie and Lindsay? Well, when the stuff's on the screen, it can be read, right? So that's not, but say I have a comment while we're looking at it, and I guess you guys will be on the sidebar and you'll see me. Is that right?
I'll go ahead and respond since this is a question directly to the interpreters, and just know Lindsay is now my hands as you and I have the conversation. So first of all, anything directed at Hugo, even though we're interpreting it, you can make that a direct comment to him. And when you hear us speaking, we'll just be his voice speaking back. But what will happen is that if you put things in screen share mode, then of course our Zoom boxes will go in a strip along the side. So Hugo, you would want to click and slide us so we're as close together as we can be. So kind of be sure we're all in a line now. And then Hugo, you'd be able to see us in that same strip. It'll just go vertically. And then as we're looking at things, yes, you can make commentary, and so can the class if you ask for responses. It helps if there's a little bit of a pause, because sometimes we might want to point something out. But it should work as it would in any class. So you should feel comfortable with that. And if it's all right, if we're ever feeling like it's a little bit of visual conflict, we'll just speak up and say,
let me know, because I'm new at this too, relatively new, and I'm especially new at this multiple pinning. So we'll figure it out. Do I need to, can I multiple pin Hugo?
That would be a good idea for us. Then we'll always be like a little threesome. And if when Hugo is making commentary, it's easy for us to see him that way.
Okay. So now you're all
doing great. You're doing wonderfully.
Okay. So I'm going to put on the Canvas shell. Has Hugo, Hugo, have you worked with Canvas before? Okay.
No, I have not.
Okay, it's really simple. So we'll go over it because I have a couple other new students too. Let me see here.
And just stepping in now, you've done your multi-pin choice beautifully. So Hugo, what I did is I just pinned myself. I went to the right-hand corner and I pinned Lindsay, and I went to the right-hand corner and I pinned you. And now I see everybody above us, but the three of us, big windows all together.
Okay, so let me enlarge this. Let's see how it, do this. And so now you're not, okay, I can make it small. Lindsay, or Katie?
We are all set, Mr. Foster.
Oh, you can see me?
Yes, we can see what you're sharing.
Oh, and then you can hear me,
videos
so
are
you
going
can,
as a pinned unit, and
Right.
you can make it bigger.
okay,
you'd
okay,
like to
great.
do that.
Got you. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. Okay, we're off and running. So when you get to Canvas, I'll show you how to get to Canvas in the first place. John, where is Canvas on your pipeline screen?
It's in the top right of Pipeline after you log into Pipeline.
And does it say Canvas, spelled out Canvas? I can't remember.
It does, and it has the logo of Canvas too. Okay.
So Lindsay or Katie, it's when Hugo goes to the pipeline, and I don't know if he's been a student, if he can get to pipeline, but we'll go over that too. At the upper right of that screen is the word Canvas and the little Canvas logo. He just has to click that and he's into the class, the Canvas shell.
That sounds perfect. And again, I would encourage you, whoops, am I muted? Just speak directly to Hugo. You can say, hey,
Oh
Hugo.
yeah, okay. Okay, got you. Okay, so we're just going to go over the announcements because that carries the home for some reason, and the syllabus, but mostly we'll be using the module because that has the assignments and the presentation on it. But let me go over those other two first. We only need to use a few of these locations on the left. So we'll go to announcements, and you'll see homepage on there, everyone. And I couldn't get the homepage on the home page itself for some reason. It doesn't. So you go here and press homepage, and that'll take you to the homepage. So a lot of you from last semester have already read this. It's a welcome. It's got the Zoom. If you need to find the Zoom, it's also here, the Zoom link. And it just is a welcome to class. I'll let you read that on your own. But also on the announcement page, I'm going to file the recordings from each Zoom. So each night, as you just saw, I turn on the recording, I record it, and then it takes a while after the class for the recording to take. And sometimes if the recording's long, if it's over a couple hours, I can't just directly go from I can't transfer the recording to the Canvas. It'll be announcement, it'll be under the homepage. I'll start a whole list of recordings for each night. Sometimes if it's big, I'll have to make a YouTube out of it, and then I'll plant that YouTube in there. But that takes me hours to do. So I don't guarantee that you'll have the recording the night of the class, but by noon the next day, by Wednesday noon, the recording will be in the announcements section. So you can go back over it and look in case you want to, or in case you missed the class. Everybody got that? Same as before, right? Okay, so then we're going to go down to syllabus. This is long, sorry. This is the class CT 116. This is the, what do you call it? What's that number called? John?
CRN.
What?
Is it the CRN number or something?
Yeah, CRN, thank you, forgot. 67118 is the CRN. Sometimes you'll need that when you're filling out things because most classes in the school have multiple sections. Ours only have one. They've ever only had one because we don't have that many students. So usually 116 will do it, but if you send something to scheduling, they'll want to know the CRN section number, CRN. Okay, again, here's the Zoom link. There's my name. There's my email address. There's my phone number. Office hours, I don't have separate office hours. I come at 5:30. If it's something you don't mind other people that may be there at the same time hearing, we can do it from 5:30 to 6. If it's something you need more privacy for, just let me know and we'll arrange it another time. It could be any time. Okay, so you can have either of those for office hours. There's no text for this class, which is great because when I used to teach this, the text was $120. You don't want to pay that, and it wasn't that good. I'm actually copying handouts from a couple of the texts I have. And then I went down, I took all my plans to Tri-County Retrographics and made zips out of them. You got the first set, but I've got all the plans I normally use. So no cost to you guys for this material. Participation, we're going to talk about your grade. There's a grade topic further down. So let's go to that before you, in terms of participation, you know, everybody's different. Some people are extroverts and love to talk. Other people are introverts and would rather not talk. I'm fine with that. I'll ask questions. Sometimes I'll want feedback on a direction to take, and then I just want you to say yes or no. So there's all kinds of ways to participate besides just speaking out in class. We'll look when we get down to it later on, there's a discussion blog that's actually a requirement, and you can talk to each other and to me via that also. Course description, don't worry about that. Course objectives, read that on your own. Okay. It's pretty straightforward, but it tells you what kinds of things we're going to try to accomplish. Class rules, there's 16 classes. You know, they're all full of information. If you miss one, you can look at the recording, but it's a little clearer in live because you can also ask a question if you don't understand. With the recording, you won't have that opportunity. So try to not to miss the class. I know a lot of you are working and sometimes you're stuck up in San Luis Obispo or somewhere at the end of a day job and you call me and that's fine. I understand that. Try not to be late also, but for the same reason, you know, you have, you know, during the pandemic, not just work, but a lot of you are taking care of your family. You're doing extra things that you wouldn't normally do. So our lives are pretty full. So just let me into when you're having a problem with that and we'll try to work around it. The reading assignments are important and they're very brief. The handouts are not that long. They're pretty simple, a lot of pictures. You know, read the schedule, which is in the module section, which we'll look at in a second. It'll tell you what's coming up and what's expected to be read by then. Also, if you guys drop the class for some reason, you need to officially drop it, not just not come and leave it the way it is, because I think you're here, especially if you drop after the drop period, then I don't know that you've dropped out. Sometimes students don't tell me and I carry you on until usually the midterm, and then I give a test and you don't answer the test and then I know you've dropped. But by then it's too late to get your money back or to get a, you know, an incomplete rather than an F. So try to stay on top of that and let me know and do the paperwork to drop if you have to for any reason. Class expectations. Take responsibility for education. I'm just a facilitator. I don't know everything about construction. There's areas where you may know more because you're specializing in some area or it's newer. In general, I'll probably know more because I've been at this for 50 years, but still, you know, things change and I'll talk from my experience and sometimes some of it will be old and you can correct me. You can say, oh no, we don't do it that way now. Or my company does it another way. I would love to hear it. That's how we stay current. And then, you know, learn and enjoy and put into practice the stuff we learn. That's all I expect from you guys. Okay, participation in one of those ways will be part of your grade. Usually, if you're on the border between an A and a B and you've been participating, I'll push you over to the A. If I don't hear from you at all and you miss half the classes, I'll probably push you back to a B. So it can make the difference if you're on the border. We have 2 exams, midterm and final. And are we going to talk about those? No. The exams are really, I think they're easy. The students think they're challenging, but I prep everyone. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, just make sure I'm not talking to myself. So I prep everyone the week before the midterm and the week before the final. We go over what's going to be on it because there's a lot of information and it would be unfair to expect you to learn all of it for the test. It's just too much. So I'll tell you the areas. I'll either go over the questions or tell you the topics that'll be on so you'll have a head start. And the exams are open note. They'd be open book if we had a book, but we don't have a book, but they're open note and open blueprint. So you'll have all that stuff with you so you can consult that stuff for the test. So don't worry about the test. SLOs, some of you know what these are, student learning objectives. These are for the teacher. I grade everybody on these at the end of the class. Doesn't go on your grade, but it tells me if half the class doesn't get one of these or gets the low rating on one of these, it means that I'm not teaching it well enough. So I need to either teach it better or take it out of the expectation. That's what those are. And then we've got accommodation for students with disabilities. You know, Hugo, who has a hearing disability, we've been dealing with him and that's coming along, but some of you others may have other disabilities. A lot of people have inability to focus. That's a common thing in these days with young people. And fortunately for my exams, I give you the whole period, which is 3 hours to take the exam. It's usually plenty of time. If someone has a disability and they need more time or they don't finish, just let me know and we'll extend the time or let you continue at another time. That's usually what the DSPS does for focus issues. They just need more time. So that's easy for me to do with the test. If you've got any other issues that I need to know about, just let me know. Send me an email and we'll work it out. So any questions about that syllabus?
No.
Okay. So let's go to the modules then, yeah? Oh, wait, no, one more. No, modules. This is the main one. And there's a little welcome section that has a course overview. So if you go to that, it tells us a little bit about this, what this class is going to be about and what the Zoom and the Canvas are about. It's probably, you know, all this in the discussion we just had, but you can always read that for more. Then there's about your instructor. If you want to know anything about me or some general things, that's here. And also, excuse me, all my contact information. And then for Canvas, we have support and student guides. I won't even click them on, but go to those if you're having any confusion about Canvas. We have these. I think they have numbers that go to a live Canvas helper, and you can always ask me during class also. So we should be able to eliminate all the Canvas issues pretty soon. Okay, today is the 12th, right? First class, week 1. Presentation, introduction to 116, that's what we're doing, Zoom and Canvas, and introduce our first unit. So that's what we're going to do after break. So if you want to know what's going on each time, the presentation tells you what that topic is. We have a group discussion that's required. I want you guys to do it. And you click that on and it will have a question that you can answer. And then, you know, it's like a blog. So if one person answers, the second person at bat can either respond to how that person answered or they can just answer as if nobody else had answered. So you can just answer the question directly, or you can bounce off of what someone else has said. That's how, you know how blogs work. So there'll be simple things or just things I'd like to get your ideas on. This first one is on, I'm curious why you're all taking blueprint reading. So just jot down that between now and next. I'd like you to get the group discussion and the assignment, if there's any written questions, which there aren't tonight, but there may be, done by the weekend at the latest Monday, so I have time to read them for Tuesday's class. So they're usually short. They won't be anything that'll take much of your time. The assignment for next week, is the third thing. There'll be 3 things to notice each week. Reread the handout for the first class. You may not have had a chance to read it, or after we talk about it, you may want to go back and look at it. And then we've got those second 2 and 3 handouts, which we'll look at briefly tonight at the end. So make sure you read those for next week. Also, here's the other thing, and I'll talk about it now, even though we'll go over the assignment again at the end. An architect's scale. So I need you to get one. They're not very much. They're around $5, I think. They vary. You can get them at the school, if the school bookstore is still open. You can get them at the stationery stores like, what are those? Office Max, or what's the other one? Staples. Yeah. And they're relatively expensive. Make sure you get architects and not engineers scale. They come in 2 kinds. I'll show you a picture. I'll hold up one in a second and I'll repeat that. But next week we're gonna use it. And so you really need one with you. In my in-person class, I ask everyone to get one too. If you can borrow one, or you had one from before, that's great. Okay, any questions about the module section? You'll see that the discussion, let me just say one thing. The discussion won't be filled out until after the class, because I won't know what I think I want to ask you until I've heard from you during the class. Then I'll put this in. This first one I did because that's just an obvious first one. Also, your assignment will always have reading, like to look at a handout or a set of plans, but it also may have a few questions about the lesson from that night. And I will also put those in after the class. So they may not be in that night, depends on how tired I am, but they'll be in by noon on Wednesday, the discussion topic, if there is one. Sometimes I skip it, and the assignment in terms of questions, okay, by Wednesday at noon. Okay. So I think that's it for Canvas. You older students, anything I've missed on this? We'll take our quizzes, our exams, they call them quizzes. We'll do that on Canvas, and I'll set you up for that when we get near it. It's pretty simple. Okay, so let's stop sharing for a second. You guys are old hands at this, right? $6:37. God, you must be having fun because time's really flying. Everybody's going, oh God. So let me take roll now, and then we'll take a break, okay? Because this may not be a long lesson today, because this first part went faster than I thought. But again, most of you guys are old hands. So Jesus Barreto, are you here? Alex here. Chris Fletcher, did you get here? He said he was coming. Haymar, are you here? Colby, I saw you. Hugo's here. Eric, you're here, right? Yeah. Eric's here. Dylan's here. Edward Nolasco, Kevin Nolasco, no relation. Huh? I've never had that name in any of my classes for 15 years. So that's why often I get brothers, and I've even had father and sons take these classes. So usually the names are related. That's great. Duke Overbach. Did you make it yet tonight? Andrew Pacheco, are you here? Brandon, I thought I saw you. You were here. Oh, yeah, you're here. Jackson, Rainey.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, yeah, right there. D'Angelo Rangel. D'Angelo. Parker Rhodes. What's going on here? John Sesser, he didn't show up. Oh, yeah. Michael Silva.
Here.
Oh, yeah. Jose Silva. John Tapia's here. I thought I saw him.
Right here.
Yeah. Johnny Vasquez, are you here? Patty Wolfgram. Jacob's here. Dalen. Dalen Jackson, did you make it?
What was that?
Do we have two Jacksons? Dalen. Let me roust him. Dalen, are you there? What's the camera icon mean? I'm watching you. Okay. So I'll ask people at the end if they stepped out, to do something, make sure I catch them. But there's a lot of people didn't show up tonight. It's not good. Okay. Remember, I record this. Is it recording? Yeah. So if you you couldn't make it tonight, that recording's under the assignment section in the, or rather announcement section in the Canvas shell. Okay, so let's take a 10-minute break. That would be at 6:52 or so, and then we'll come back and we'll go over that first lesson. It shouldn't be so long. Did everybody get their, before you go, now that I've said that, did everybody get their handouts, their emails from me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there were 3. Sometimes I combined them. Okay. Okay, so we'll talk about it on the other side of the break. Okay, go take a 10-minute break. Yeah, I'll be here this whole time. So if anybody has a question during the break, but you might want to just take the break to relax too.
Did you call my name?
Who said that?
Me, Brandon?
Yeah, I did, Brandon.
Okay. Didn't hear it.
Hugo, you want her to, you want Katie to, no, there's Lindsay.
Katie, you're muted if you were saying something.
I'll show you with FaceTime.
Where do you guys learn to sign?
Oh, for me it was, one second, I'm going to show Hugo this one
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So lovely. You're this interested. Very sweet.
Oh, yeah. I totally admire you guys.
I'm gonna go grab some water. I'll be right back.
Okay, sure.
Yes, so Patrick,
Yeah,
we all kind of come, just like any other foreign language interpreter, we have different backgrounds. Some people come to the language because they might have had parents who were deaf.
yeah,
Some people just get fascinated by it and start learning it like they would a foreign language.
yeah.
And so I don't know Lindsay's background. I can tell you her signs are absolutely gorgeous. So I know that she has had a lot of exposure to deaf people in some major centers with deaf people that live in large abundance and big metropolitan centers like Boston. She's recently from Boston. And in our area, in the town of Fremont, which is kind of on in the Bay Area, kind of on
Yeah,
the East
yeah, I know
Bay.
where it is. Yeah,
There's a school for the deaf that is, it's like a residential school for the deaf. And from that, sometimes people will graduate and then move into the community and kind of stay in that community. And there's
Yeah.
also a community college, Ohlone College is there. And because of the just like that's a part of that cultural center, they've
Yeah.
got fantastic interpreter programs, training programs, and programs on deaf history, deaf culture.
oh, wow.
For myself,
Yeah.
I came into it because I have a sister who was born deaf, and she went to that same school, but at the time it was in Berkeley.
Yeah, wow. I've taken workshops and stuff up at Ohlone. It's pretty nice up there. It's a
Oh,
great,
you know it.
yeah, it's a great school.
It's a beautiful campus, isn't
Oh,
it?
yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So,
how
all
long
right.
does it take if you don't know any sign language, if you start from scratch? How
Mhm.
long is there a typical spread of how long it takes to get competent?
Well, everybody again is different, and sometimes
Right.
it depends on the person that is teaching you. It's always great to be in a circle. And Lindsay, I'm sort of just answering some questions about our craft and was singing your praises a minute ago. But I think in general, what I've heard is that with any foreign language, you begin to get a little bit of comfort after about 2 years. You
Yeah.
can sort of begin being a little more conversational.
And that's full-time school. That's assuming you're going to school or just
No,
however you do it.
it helps, of course, with anything, the longer you do it. I'm sure it's the same in your field, but I wanted to let you know that at Santa Barbara City College, you are blessed with an incredible teacher. And there can be crummy teachers. And if you get a bad teacher, you
Yeah.
can get bad habits, but you've got Ignacio Ponce.
Right.
And Ignacio's classes they're like having hot chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
He's such a good teacher.
Oh,
He's
great.
so kind. He's so clear. His
Yeah.
signing is just beautiful. So if you ever were of a mind to pick some of it up, you've sure got a great resource.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah, I've
close
heard
by.
that about him. I've
He's a
met him,
great
he's been here a while, and I bumped into him when I was, I was chair of this program for 12 or 13 years, and I just retired. And when I was chair, I had to take, I had committee assignments on campus, and I would run across him then. But since I've been retired, I don't go to main campus much. I'm mostly just, our facilities at the Wake Center. So,
Oh yeah, the
Um,
Wake Center.
yeah. So Lindsay, Katie said you were from the Massachusetts area. Is that right?
I just moved here, yeah, in August 1st, I moved here. But I actually grew up up in Fremont in the Bay, but I've been in Boston for the last 7 years, so I just moved here.
Yeah. I spent how many years? 10 or 11 years in Maine.
Oh,
Oh,
And so I used to come down to Boston and, lower New England all the time.
Yeah. It's an
But yeah, I
awesome
love it
spot.
there. So whenever I hear someone who spent time there or from there, I always talk to them a little bit.
Yeah. Yep. I miss it actually. It's a wonderful place.
I think I always tell my students, travel if you can, because it's such a eye opener to see the way other people in other places think about things and do things. Even carpentry's got a lot of differences.
I
Oh,
can only
yeah.
imagine.
Yeah, I mean, there's regional. I've worked in a lot of regions in the States, and there's regional differences all over, and so it's good to tell the students that there's the variation sometimes.
Sure.
New England's got great carpenters because it's the oldest part of the country.
Right.
Well, in some ways, in some ways it's not, but in terms of European Americans, that's where we started, and that tradition from England is very old and developed. So whenever I look at this old house, and I look at those guys
Yeah.
that do it, I just feel right at home because it's exactly the way they talk and do things,
Yeah.
and it's a real craft there. I mean, I hope that never disappears.
Me too. I'm a huge
California is
fan of
always in a hurry to
Nashville.
get things done, so we kind of bend it a little
Uh-huh.
bit. But now that we have nail guns and the technology is so improved in the last 20, 30 years that I think everybody are better carpenters than in the old days.
Mm.
But anyway,
Well, you have been nothing but a pleasure. We're very happy and very lucky to be here in your class.
oh yeah, well, I'm
Yeah.
really happy you guys came too. I didn't know how we'd work this out, but this is relatively painless. I love it.
Yeah, a
But
good attitude always helps.
But like I said, I'm fascinated by signing. I look at it whenever I watch TV. I look at the signers and watch what they do. It's incredible. I mean, is it considered harder than a second European language to learn?
Hmm.
It looks like it.
Again, it's so individualistic. I've heard people say it's easier, but
Really?
it could be that there's a kinetic part of the brain that
Oh, well,
moves,
yeah.
and so much of the language does have it. It makes visual sense.
Yeah.
And I know that many deaf people, even though they're from different countries, and every country has its own sign language.
Right. Oh,
And
really?
every,
Well, but there's an international language though, right?
no,
There's not an international sign language?
well, there's
Oh, I thought
just
there
like
was.
we have Esperanto. How many
Yeah,
do you know that speak Esperanto?
I know of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's something like that. But Hugo, maybe you could weigh in on this. But what I've heard from deaf people is that when they meet deaf people from another country, because they're shared natural gestures, it's actually probably easier many times for deaf people from different countries to communicate with each other.
Even if they don't
And
know
it
the
is-
language itself. Yeah.
Right. Even
Wow.
though, different than those of us with a spoken language
Yeah.
trying to communicate. And what we all end up doing is we all resort as hearing people with different spoken languages. Many times we resort to gesturing
Yeah.
because that's the universal element, or we might
Sure.
point or draw pictures. So
Well, just the number of signs of picture signs or whatever you call the non-word signs, that's enough. But then when you spell out things and you have to do it so fast, or count, that's amazing. I'm just to think you could express numbers that fast is truly amazing.
well, since for me, sign language is my second language, and this is Hugo's language and his culture and his history. I'm only explaining kind of from the interpreter point of view.
Right. Sure.
I would direct you to Hugo as the person who probably has a lot more to say about it than I do. But
Yeah.
thank you for your interest.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys doing this. This is working out. For the hands-on classes and the labs, we usually don't get students with physical disabilities because they can't do the physical work of construction, right? Sometimes we have had some because they'll work in an office and they'll do some of the office stuff. And so then it's great for them to learn the construction industry, you know, on an intellectual level, and then be able to understand it in an office.
Can you
But
say that one more time, Professor? Sorry, I missed that. Can you say that one more time?
I haven't had any students with physical disabilities, and I just assume I'll never have students. So actually, I think Hugo is the first deaf student I've had in 13 years. And I think it's just because when people think, oh, I can't go into construction because if I want to work on a crew, I won't, you know, that's kind of awkward. Or I don't know, but there's plenty of jobs in construction that I don't know what Hugo's. I'll ask Hugo what his, well, actually, Hugo, when you do the discussion and talk about why you took this class, why you signed up for this class, maybe you can talk about if you have interest in construction in general.
Yeah, I will. I'll include that in my response for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Really, I'm currently working as a mason. I'm working in a masonry right now.
Oh, wow.
So I don't have a lot of experience with wood or making plans, you know, or building, so to speak. So I'm really excited to learn more and see where that takes me.
Oh, great, great. Excellent. Yeah, blueprint reading is actually good for everybody. It's got a lot of skills, you know, even if you're never going to be in construction. It's just understanding, you know, interpreting symbols and things, kind of like sign language. It's a symbol system like sign language, right? Maybe another minute or two, and then we'll start back. It's getting close. So, Lindsay and Katie, if say Hugo has to be absent one day, and so he can look at the recording, you guys are on the recording, right? I'm still trying to figure out how this works. You will be on the recording. So when he looks at the recording, he'll see you signing. Is that right? Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. So, you know, maybe that will never happen.
I was just asking for a little clarification from Lindsay.
If
so there wouldn't be an interpreter if I missed class, then
no, not you, but say Hugo missed the class.
This is Hugo speaking. So if I were not there, the interpreters would also not be there. But I actually haven't had a class on Zoom yet, you know, nor a recorded class. So I'm not really sure. But for example, if I missed a class in person and I wasn't there, the interpreters would not stay and continue to interpret. So I'm not sure how that'll work if that situation arises.
I wrote Hugo an email. He sent me an email, I guess it was today, and I told him that, you know, even though I want students to be at every class, because I go over the material that's going to be on the midterm, we kind of do a summary of a lot of the information that was given. So usually if students miss, they catch up during that time. So it's not a problem for the exams.
Alrighty, sounds good.
Yeah, we'll be fine with that. Okay, so I'm going to start. I think we're pretty good. So I'm going to put the I didn't put them on. Hold on. I've got to go find them. Hold on. We're going to look at the first print. I know John had his up. It's this one. If you have it printed, and I will put it on the screen also. Give me a second to do that. Okay, so yeah.
Hey, Patrick,
Yes.
would it be helpful this semester to print out the blueprint set that you gave us, kind of enlarged? Like, is there a way that we can print them somewhere so they're bigger than just on a standard piece of paper?
Well, we've got to, I'm glad you brought that up. We've got to deal with that when we start to get into them. So, you could go to try County Retrographics where I took the actual prints in and had them make the zip drive from it. And then I'm showing you the zip drive. So you could do the reverse. You could take the zip drive and go there, but it would cost you money. Although this first set is only 12 sheets, so I don't know how expensive it would be. I don't want to cost people money, but let's try it and see how it works without doing that. You're certainly welcome to do it anytime. And I'll give you the address and the place to go and do it if you want.
What was that place called?
Tri-County Repro Graphics. It's on Haley down almost to, boy, I forget all the names of my streets when I don't go anywhere. Haley, almost down to Milpas. Downtown.
Yeah, maybe I'll call them and get a quote or something.
Yeah, you could say, your teacher got a zip print, and if you bring that down, or you would have it on your zip print, if how much they would charge to do it. I mean, they have a one sheet cost, so it'd be 12 times that. So anyway, yeah, we might even look at those prints tonight real quickly and see how accessible they are. So, but let's go over the this first set first. Wait, what did I do? Okay, Leslie and Katie, can you see me? Or you can hear me?
Yes.
Can you?
Just before we're good, yes.
Okay. So this first page is the book I got it out of, and I'll show you the book. You can buy this, Print Reading for Construction. It's got the text, which we will borrow from. All the handouts are copies of that. And then they have large prints. They have a second part that's 116 large prints, but the prints are old. They're from the Midwest, and they're not in scale, which is a real problem. They didn't keep the scale when they miniaturized them for the book. And so you can't scale off of them. You can't use your ruler to find things. So I just was so frustrated with that. I just said, let's not even make the kids buy these, students buy these. I'll just copy what's worthwhile. And so that's why it's this way. But that's in case you want to reference it, that's the name of the book. So the first unit, construction, drawing, and organization. Let's see. So construction drawings, I'm going to read along here, are used to communicate the architectural and engineering design of a construction project. All persons involved in the planning, supplying, or construction of structure must be able to read construction drawings. So let me add one thing here, and I will, it's not on here, but maybe I'll write it out someplace else. But the functions that prints have, one, they're a legal document. So if there's any problems with how things are made or what materials are used, the lawyers from either side can use that as a document to determine who's right. Didn't used to be this way, but in commercial building, sometimes things go really wrong and there's a lot of blame and it takes a while to sort it out. And so plans have gotten much more specific than they ever used to be. They specify everything, so there can't be a question, when they're litigating who's at fault. So it's a legal document. The building inspector, this will be a unit 2 on getting a house inspected. But when you get a permit for building and the inspector comes out to your home, he will use those plans as his guide also. He will have a set because you've already deposited a set at the building department. And he will check your building against those plans. So, and if they differ, they may be sublegal and you'll have to bring them back into compliance. So they're a legal document. They're also a way that all people involved, whether it's the contractor or the owner or the inspector, can see what you're doing, can get a grasp, a visual understanding of the building. So they definitely fulfill that function. And then thirdly, there may be more, but these are the big 3, is that it's a blueprint. That blueprint's also a metaphor, right? For a guide. So they're literally a guide, a blueprint for building a house, building the structure that's there. They have they don't have all of it, but they have a good part of the information you need to build it properly. So those are 3 things that prints are. A print is a copy of a drawing. They called blueprints because when they were printed out originally, they were blue. I think, are they blue with white lines? Yeah. And so they call them blueprints, but we don't use that same copying mechanism anymore. So they're just white with black lines, but we still call them blueprints because we used that term for so long.
Why did that change? Just like,
the machine, those were very expensive, those original prints. Usually the beginning of a mechanical apparatus like that is expensive because they haven't figured out a way to make everything cheaper. But after a number of years, they got new processes that really streamlined it. So yeah. Oh, they used to stink too. They had an ammonia smell. It was not the greatest.
was it like carbon paper or?
It was something on the paper that reacted with now it's just a copy, which you can, obviously we've perfected copying, but before it was, the paper had some kind of chemical surface and the light, triggered a change in it. So as in everything in life, the vocabulary sometimes conflicts with itself, and we will point that out as we go. Plans is sometimes what referred to as the whole set, and I'll hold up a set, they're rolled up, and it's numerous prints of every phase of the job. They call those plans plural. They will call individual pieces an individual plan. And then plan is also used to designate a drawing, a plan drawing. It means a drawing from the top, but we'll go into that when we go into floor plans. So as long as we keep all those meanings straight, we'll be okay. Okay, I don't care about knowing these projections. that's kind of drafting terminology. You can read it if you want. I'm not going to hold you to any of that. Okay, so down here, I've also numbered these pages, like this is page 2. So as we go throughout the semester, I'll say, you know, go to this set of pages and go to page 2. It'll be the only one, because these have been numbered in the text and they've been numbered in previous classes. So I just took a pencil and made a big number with a circle around it. That'll be the numbers we use this time. The top view is called a plan drawing, and we'll talk more about each of these. But so this tonight is just an overview of the different sets of plans and the what's the word I'm looking for? The regulations or that plans. There's an international body that's trying to regulate plans so that people from anywhere in the world can understand and use plans, conventions. So we'll talk about the specific types of plans and the conventions tonight. And that should take up our time. So this is not really a plan here. It could be a print in a set of plans. Sometimes they'll do on the front page, they'll do a rendering like this. Usually it's a watercolor. They don't do that as much anymore. They used to do it a lot, and these would be really beautiful. I may show you at some point Frank Lloyd Wright's renderings. You know, he's our foremost architect in American history. His renderings are works of art. They're beautiful. But, you know, we have computer graphics that do renderings now, do these kind of views of houses. But sometimes they'll do this so the customer can get a kind of a general idea of what it's going to look like. You know, plans are usually from above or from the front. And so they're often two-dimensional. And some people can look at that and sort of understand what the house is about. And other people don't have that visual ability. And so renderings like this really help out. Okay, so a set of prints here on page 3. So there's a classification, and I want to tell you right off, this is the standard classification, but I'm going to show you plans throughout the semester where local architects have deviated from this classification. So as with everything, you know, there's people that don't stick to it. So usually the first classification is called civil prints. It's a category of prints. We'll look at an actual set of prints for examples for each of these. So right now we're just getting an overview. That has a plot plan. The most common civil print is a plot plan, and we're going to look at that in a couple of weeks. We're going to look at it. We'll look at a brief one tonight. It'll have grading. So these plans go from the ground up, usually, more or less. So the bottom is how the house sits on the property. Then you want to know what kind of grading's done, because that'll have to be done before the house is built. Maybe some landscape layout. All those are civil plans. And it says, see figure 1-2, so I guess that's this one. So this is what's called a site plan or a plot plan. And we're going to study these not next week, but the week after. That'll be one of our focuses. It cites the building on the lot. So you have a street here, you have a street in front. It shows you where the sidewalks are. It shows you where the boundaries are, what kind of setbacks from the boundaries, that kind of thing. And you need that to build a house on a lot because you have to be in the exact place it says. But we will cover the details of that later. So then the second set is called, this C, I think, is civil. There should be a C where this hole is. So civil are represented by C, and I'll show you where that shows up on the plans in a second. Architectural plans, A, these are most of the plans we're going to study. These are the primary plans in a set of plans. The floor plans, which we'll look at in a second. Here's a floor plan. We'll go over those in a second. Floor plan, elevation, finishes, that's a list of finishes, sections, schedules, that's another list. And details, that's a plan, those are the drawings. So we'll go through each of those in the course of this. We'll see some tonight, and then we're going to study each of those. We'll take a week to study each of those. Structural S are concrete, steel, and wood superstructure. So those are, you know, the more structural things. Mechanical is usually plumbing and HVAC. HVAC, it means your heating, ventilation, and cooling systems. That's why it's called HVAC, HVAC. Sometimes they include plumbing and HVAC because they often work with each other. Under mechanical, sometimes they'll pull out plumbing and HVAC as separate categories. So that varies. If the house is, you know, when we'll look at some commercial prints, and they'll have tons of all of these, so they'll really break those out. But in a simple residential plan, you'll usually maybe just have mechanical and electrical, and that'll get rid of all those plumbing, HVAC, and electrical systems. Okay. Yeah, we said that prints are usually arranged in the approximate order of construction. A set of prints consists of civil engineering, so the C ones will be first. This is a structural plan. We'll look at a lot of these here. Sometimes structural is after C, not always. Sometimes it's after A. So we'll point out the variations. But because structural includes concrete work, and that comes before architecture, it logically comes before the architectural plans. But sometimes people consider it a more detailed set of plans. You look at the architectural first, and then when you want more details, you go to structural. So they're often more in the back. We'll look at examples of that. Everybody okay so far?
Yeah.
So this just tells under each category. You don't have to memorize that yet because we're going to look at examples. A good part of the class will be studying each type of these. Floor plan is considered important because it tells you where the rooms are, what the dimensions of the rooms are, where the fireplace and the kitchen cabinets are. So for an owner, this is really good information. They want to know when they walk in the bathroom, you know, are they going to bump into the toilet or the sink? So when an architect draws up a set of plans and then an initial set gives them to the owners and they go, oh, this is too crowded. We want more room for the tub and this is so typically American. They make everything so small. So this has a lot of that information. So this is a really information-laden plan. So I would say to see how the house looks and functions, this is probably your primary plan, but you don't get an idea of what the shape of the house is other than, you know, horizontally. So when you want to know the vertical shape and what it looks like from the outside, then you go to elevation plans. So you can work between these two. You can say, well, okay, this is the front. What would that look like? And then you go to the front elevation. And I don't know if these are connected. I don't think they are. But then you'll be able to see. So you can go back and forth between elevations and floor plans and be able to tell the shape of the house. And that's a good thing to establish right away. So you kind of have an overview. Then you'll go into all these sub ideas. You know, how the foundation under this goes, how the framing goes, all those kind of pieces of information. Let's see. Okay. This is a foundation plan. It obviously tells you where you're going to pour your stem walls and slabs. But we will look at these later in the semester. Sectional view, this isn't a very good example, although it's okay. So elevations after floor plan, you have elevations, which are looking at the house from the outside. You don't see any of the interior. You just look at all 4 outside views, or if it's a complicated house, it may have, more angles and more exterior views. But typically, middle-class residential homes have the 4 sides, and you can capture all of it with those 4 views. Then sections is a type of drawing, and what they do is, let's go back to a floor plan. This doesn't have any sections, but say you want to see what the fireplace looks like. Well, if you're looking at it from the outside, none of the elevations will get you there, right? You're only going to see the outside of the wall. So they may put a section line all the way through the building, and we're going to study the different lines and what they mean. All the way through the building, and it'll have an arrow pointing this way, which means when you're looking at that section, you're looking this way. So you're looking right into the fireplace, and it'll show you what the mantle and the chimney and all that looks like. So any place that you want to look at some feature on the inside that needs to be shown, and it can't be shown on the outside elevation pictures, they'll create a section, and it'll be a cut through the building, and then you'll look at that way. A stairway, this is okay, but it's, first of all, it isn't a residential print, so it's a little different. Detail drawing, sorry about you might want to write in detail there. And that's at the end of a set of plans. They'll have several pages, depending on the size, complication of the house. We may have here's one. A detail like a roof hatch detail. You're not going to put that in the floor plan or the elevation, but the carpenters need to know how that works. So they'll have a detail of that, or almost anything, any kind of hardware that's used, or special framing things that aren't obvious or that need to be done. A lot of homes are now engineered. In the old days, you'd only engineer the most complicated stuff. Now the building departments don't want to be responsible, so they require you to have an engineer look at your plans and write up a design, confirm the design or redesign it. And often those have a lot of details. We'll show you examples of those engineering. I just had some work done, and I have some good engineering drawings from it. Schedules, funny word for that. It's a list of things, but they call it a schedule. It doesn't have a before and after or a sequence of times like some schedules would. It merely includes a lot of information about such things as windows, doors, lighting fixture, finishes, and they're just kind of tables. We'll look at those. Electrical drawings show the electrical stuff. They're usually not very complete because electricians kind of do it their own way. And we'll talk about that. Mechanical and HVAC, you can read through this, structural framing, but we're going to look at each of these in turn. So the next thing tonight, we're getting kind of toward the end, is this uniform drawing system on page 11. And this is an attempt, I think it's worldwide, to make drawings uniform. So many companies, like an American company will build a high rise in, an Arab country, like those Gulf states. And so, you're dealing with people on the ground in a Gulf state, and then you're dealing with American architects and engineers. So we're trying to get a common language so you can build around the world and everybody can understand. So one of the things they've worked out is these modules. So a drawing set organization. So it tells you just what we've looked at, what a floor plan should have in it, what an elevation will have. So they're trying to normalize that. Then sheet organization, that you'll notice there's a little information border on most blueprints, and it has stuff in it. We'll look at that. It conventionalizes schedules. We'll look at that. But anyway, also it has terms and abbreviations. Now I've sent you some of those, and it's an old set, and these things probably change a lot. So, we'll have to look at this with a grain of salt, but some of the symbols are still used universally. Some of the terms are, as technology improves, we have new products that have whole new names. So, you have to, often a set of plans will have its own terms and abbreviations on it so that you know what those are. Code conventions are just regulatory information. So this UDS, this uniform, uniform design drawing system, 1990s, not that far, well, you guys are young, but not that far back, 30 years. It's a great idea. I mean, how else can you do global work if you don't have a, then this is, talks about making prints today on page 12 here. I don't care, I won't have this on the test, but you might be interested in it. Tracing paper is called vellum sometimes. And they use tracing paper because one thing, it folds easier, it's very thin. Another thing is you can overlay prints. Say you have to draw something and it requires information from a previous print. You can make prints easier that way. Now a lot of drawing is done by CAD systems, computer-aided design. Some of you may have taken those classes at City College. They're in the drafting program. But I used to be on the advisory committee for that program for drafting. And a few years ago, we had a meeting, and a lot of the people on it were architects. And we asked them, do you do all CAD or do you still do some hand drafting? And 2/3 of them said we still do hand drafting. We'll either do that as a preliminary phase and then clean it up with the CAD, or sometimes we'll mix it up. So hand drafting is not dead yet. So we'll talk about that in the course. And then it just talks about, the ins and outs of the machines. So that's all we're going to cover with that. Any question? Let's go back to stopping the share. That was pretty straightforward. Like I said, it's an overview, and we'll go into each one of those plans and look at variations and different sets of plans. So before we go, I want to do one thing with you, and that is, let me get the that first set of plans I gave you. That's like our primary set. You all got that in the email, right? It said tempo 1 through 12. That's an educational set. It's not a true set of plans. It was made by a company that wrote it made those plans as teaching aids. And I'll point out how they differ. They're great plans, so they have more information. They have a lot of general information because they're trying to educate you as well as show you about the house they're dealing with. So I'll show you where some of that stuff is not normally on a plan. And we will look at other real plans that have been designed by local architects. But let me get that first set, the first drawing on here, and see what it looks like to you guys. And then we'll just real quickly. That would be tempo 1. Where'd that go? 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Maybe we'll do 2. Oh, here's one. Okay, so you can all see this, yes?
Yep.
So they've taken a 2 by 3 foot set of plans. I've got the actual plan, and it it pretty much fits in the borders of our screen. So like you can probably read these window schedules okay, yes?
Yeah, kind of.
Kind of,
Yeah.
but see, I don't know how to do it. How do I increase the size?
Do you have do you have a mouse wheel you can zoom in with, or does that only go down?
It goes down.
Can you do Control Plus?
Ooh.
Did that do anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's probably, my Zoom data is at the top, and there might be, let me see if I can pull this down. No. Oh, yeah.
No, that definitely zoomed it in. You'll just have to move around the page more.
Yeah, sometimes there's a usually there's a plus and minus up on this. It might be behind this, please, this warning sign. No, oh yeah, there we go. So I can do this.
Are we supposed to be able to see what you are doing now?
No, but can you see that? You can still see the plan, right?
No.
No,
Oh, darn, how'd that happen?
just like a blue screen,
Okay.
gray.
I think it's gray with blue stripes, actually.
Yeah. Better to be specific. It's kind of like a dove gray.
Okay. All right, you wiseacres. Can you see it now?
Yes.
You can see a blueprint now, yes?
Yes.
Or a white print.
A plot plan.
Okay, so this was part of that page. I enlarged it. That's pretty easy to read there, isn't it?
Yes.
Can everybody see that pretty good?
Mhm. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So that's what we'll do. We'll look at the plan as a whole to show you the layout. And there'll be other plans. I mean, I've got 6 sets I made a zip drive from at Tri-County. And they're all good for different things. Some plans show some things off better. And those are the plans I do when I do the class in person. So I said, oh, that's a great idea. I'll just go have all those copied, $130. So I should have charged you guys, but I can't do it unless how I have to do that? I used to just charge you. I'd say, I used to have everybody have a set of prints and I would charge everybody $20. Nobody had a problem. And then my dean told me, after I've been doing this for like 5 years, he said, oh, you can't do that. That's illegal. Because you can pocket the money, So he said, you got to go to the bookstore. You got to give them the thing and then they sell it to I said, forget it. Can you imagine what a hassle that would be? So I can't charge you. You're lucky. So it's on me. So that's good. So we'll be able to look at those.
Cool.
So next week, we won't be looking at prints. No, I don't know. We got to look at see all the lines on there. The dark lines are on the house, and then the dimension lines, and then the property lines, and then the building setback line. You see all those? That's what we're going to study next.
You're not sharing anymore, Patrick.
Why? Okay, now
Yeah.
see all those lines? Can you
Yes.
can you see my mouse?
Oh yeah.
Oh, great. Property line, setback line, land conservation area line, house line, dimension line. So there's a lot of lines in Blueprint. So we're going to take the next units on what all those lines mean, how the dimension lines are done and how you understand them, reading the dimensions. And then the we'll do 2 units next week. The second unit will be how to use the scale, the architectural scale. That's this thing right here, right? It's a triangle, kind of, I guess you'd call that. And you got to get the architectural one. Let's see where it says it. Great, I have the one in the whole universe that doesn't say it. But along this edge, it'll say, along here, it'll say architectural. Don't get the one that says engineering. It's a whole different scale. I'll show you that and talk about that later, but I want you all to get a hold of an architect scale. They're plastic. Like I said, they're $5, around $5 at Office Max or Staples. Or you can borrow them. Maybe if your parents or brothers or friends have these, borrow them. If you're going into construction as a career, just get one because they're useful to have. You'll go up faster in your company if you can read one of these. So, and then we'll just learn how to use these. We'll give you some exercises. That's really critical for blueprint reading because the dimensions don't give you all the dimensions you need, the dimension lines. You're going to have to actually measure it yourself quite a bit here and there. So that's what we'll do next week. So everybody got that? Get that scale. Just look over those set 2 and 3, which is about lines and symbols and measuring using the scale. They're really short, just sort of glance over them and then we'll go over them in class. And like when they do the lines, we'll take this set or some other set and we'll look at on an actual blueprint what the lines look like. So how's that sound?
Good.
Sounds good.
Yeah, you have to say sounds good, otherwise I'll fail you. So just get used to shaking your head, giving me a thumbs up. You'll do fine.
You have these reactions. You can like do a clap. You see that? Or a thumbs
What's that?
up.
Oh, wow. How'd you do that?
There's like a thing, there's like a reaction button at the bottom.
Reaction? Oh,
Yeah.
reaction. So if I want to do it, see, where's my picture?
Yeah, there you
Oh,
go.
man, are you kidding? See, you guys are all into this. I'm not into emojis or any of this. Is there a depressed emoji? That's what we need for these days. Oh, no,
You're
it's
not
a new
allowed to
year.
do that.
We're going forward. That's right. Yeah, thanks, Alec. That's good to know. I would have never found that because I just don't deal in that stuff. Oh, it's got a yes, no too. Oh, great. Slower, faster. Tremendous. Okay, cool. Okay, so let me just check my lesson plan, make sure we're all okay. Okay, so you've got the discussion blog to do. You find it through module, go to the module and then go to that. Tonight it's asking about why you're taking this class, remember? Make sure you do that. I'm not going to give you any written assignment tonight. I just feel in a good mood, So on the assignment section, the third category on the modules, it'll have your reading assignment because we'll always have one of those. And that is to read the next two sets of handouts that I sent to you. That's all you have to do for next Tuesday. Any questions?
So set 2 and set 3, read for
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah. And then we'll go over those and we'll apply those to some plans and we'll get going. Goes pretty fast. It's pretty fun. A lot of this print reading is actually you have to do a lot of problem solving and that's the fun part. The rest of it's just there, but we're going to actually cite, John's done this too many times. Maybe I'll excuse him when the time comes, but on our site plan, we're going to actually figure out how to cite house on a plan using the dimensions they've given us. But we'll talk about that. That's kind of fun. But this is really good. If you guys, any of you guys are planning on careers in construction, this is actually one of the best classes you can take here, because you can't be a crew leader. You can be a laborer or a beginning carpenter because you're given orders to do things. And you just do what they tell you. But if you want to give orders or be a supervisor, which is you get paid more and it's better, you have to be able to read plans. Often you'll take those plans home at night, figure out what you're going to do, and then the next day you'll be ready. So that's just, any rising up in a company is absolutely necessary to read plans. And it gets better as you read them, but this will be a good start for you if you haven't dipped into this yet. So yeah, we have 16 weeks and we'll make sure everybody can use a scale and, you know, measure things and understands plans. I think by the end of this class, you'll be in good shape. Okie doke. The recording will be there by noon tomorrow in the assignment part of Canvas, if any of you need to use that, or, you know, if you didn't come here tonight, you may not know it's going to be there, but if you were a student last year, you know to look for it there last semester. So that should take care of everything. Remember, feel free to talk to me. If you have any issues, you know, during this pandemic, life's harder, everything's harder, which we talked about last semester. You're stuck at a home more. You've got siblings and children and parents crammed together. So there's a lot of stuff going on in your lives. So if you're having trouble doing the class along with that stuff, make sure you tell me before you do anything. We're flexible. We'll work things out. This is the time when we have to be flexible. When this is all over, then we'll go back to, you know, more inflexible education. Not me, but your other teachers. Okay, I'm done. If you don't have any more questions, we can take off. 7:41, we did okay. I thought it would go till 8 or 8:15, but good to see all you blokes. Do we have any, well, I can't tell if we have any girls in the class because they didn't show up. I think they're girls. Their names look like female names, but you never know. So Dawn didn't make it. She said she was going to come. And I remember Dawn from last time.
Mm-hmm.
Donna, the building inspector. Yeah.
Yeah. She was going to help us through the permit process, but oh, well. So Katie and Lindsay, I'll see. Will you both be here each time? Oh, great. Great. You guys are the best. So this is going to be a good class. We'll learn a lot. This is a class I can really say we'll learn a lot because it's pretty graspable. We'll get it. Okay, I'm taking off. I will see you guys next Tuesday, yeah?
See you next Tuesday.
All right.
See you.
Adios.
See ya.
Hey, Patrick.
Bye-bye.